Many of you are aware of the partnership we have with USAA. They offer our members tremendous opportunities to access insurance and banking products. Their heritage as a company who serves our military and our veterans is parallel to the great heritage of the American Legion. And it's because of our partnership with USAA and the wonderful people that our staff work with each day at USAA that we were introduced to our keynote speaker. I want to thank USAA for their continued partnership with the American Legion. Our keynote speaker is a lifetime American Legion member. He is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. He completed what he calls, quote, the typical infantry officer schools, Ranger, Airborne, Air Assault, Mechanized Leader, end quote. And as career Army veterans, this seems a bit more typical to me, but nevertheless, on October 18th, 2009, while leading his platoon on a dismounted patrol in Afghanistan, his platoon was attacked with an improvised explosive device, an IED, which killed one of his soldiers, and they were unable to locate his remains. Later that night, while still attempting to recover the remains of his missing soldier, he stepped on another IED. The blast immediately amputated both of his legs above the knees, shattered his arm, and broke his jaw. The men of his platoon and 2 company medics kept him alive for over an hour until he was evacuated by helicopter. His condition was so poor, he was kept at the combat hospital in Kandahar for 5 days. Eventually, he was flown to Walter Reed Medical Center here in Washington. After 4 months of intensive surgeries and care as a patient in the hospital, Dan spent 10 more months on the campus enduring physical training and rehabilitation. Not your typical infantry officer, he sets records in his efforts to recover and walk again. He is our nation's first military member to walk again after having his legs amputated so far above his knees. Of all similar amputees in the entire country, Dan is only one of 2 people that can walk on a daily basis. Today, is he learning to walk again with his new prosthetic limbs. He even drives his car. He is the founder and president of 26 Industries, which is a plastic manufacturing distribution company. Right now, they distribute high-quality American-made plastic storage products, but he hopes to establish his own production company while employing his fellow veterans. All this, and he doesn't retire from the Army until April. My fellow Legionnaires and Legionnaire family members, please give a warm welcome to a true inspiration, Army Captain Dan Berschinski.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Thank you to the Legion for inviting me here today and looking out for me and everyone that came before me and will come after me. And thanks to all the USA representatives who have treated me so nicely this week. I'm honored to be here. I am brought here today to share my personal story and kind of relate to you in person what all of your advocacy and care and legislation actually means. I stand here today representing veterans, but also wounded veterans and Americans. And I don't think my story is all that unique or all that special in and of itself, but I do represent a bunch of other veterans that have come before me and will come after me, and that is the wounded guys and the guys who are returning to the civilian sector to contribute to our great nation outside of their military service. So you kind of know the short version of my story. I grew up south of Atlanta in Peachtree City, Georgia, a nice little suburb. Decided to go to West Point for college, which was a unique experience. But it made me fall in love with the Army, so I branched infantry and was an infantry platoon leader. I was out of Fort Lewis in Washington State. Got to Fort Lewis, took a platoon right away, and trained up my guys for about 8 or 9 months. And we always knew we were going on a deployment. First, we were scheduled for Iraq, but we heard through the grapevine and rumors that that was going to get changed to Afghanistan. And so the 5th Brigade of the 2nd ID is a Stryker infantry unit, so we drive around in Stryker vehicles. So we had a slight change of mission a couple of months before we were supposed to go to Iraq, and we went to Afghanistan, and I would say overall that was a welcome change. The guys were excited. Most of my NCOs were combat veterans. I was the typical cherry platoon leader, but I knew that they would take care of me, and I would try my best to take care of them. We went to Afghanistan. We had a real strong platoon, real strong company, and we were immediately thrust into a very tough fight. The area of Afghanistan that we went into really had no discernible NATO presence in it for several years. There were small NATO training teams, but there were no real combat elements there. And to be quite frank, the enemy was ready for us, and they met us full on. And on August 18th, the day that I lost my soldier, Jonathan Yanni, and then later that night I got hurt, that's when we kind of realized how tough the fight was going to be. And I say that really, in all honesty, I kind of had it easy. I was only in combat for a month. I was only actually fighting on patrol for about 10 straight days, and then I got hit, and the fight was over for me. But my guys stayed there for another 11 months, which is quite a long time. Those guys really had no respite. Every day was a combat mission, and I can't believe the kind of stress that they went through on that deployment. But they did a good job. I'm still in touch with a lot of my guys, and they have done a tremendous job of looking out for me and taking care of me, and that's kind of why I'm here today. I like to pay it back, if you will. But again, I consider myself to be really lucky. My injury was pretty substantial, traumatic amputation, both legs. I have one thigh left. On my right side, I actually have no femur left at all. So no leg to speak of, and yet here I am walking in front of you and standing at a podium to speak. And that is a testament to the first topic that I want to touch on, which is our healthcare. And now, of course, my healthcare situation is a little unique. I represent a small majority or a small minority of our veterans, and those are our combat wounded veterans. And then of those, I represent an even smaller number, and those are our amputees. We get a lot of attention nowadays. Our wounds are visible. Our wounds are kind of fun. Prosthetics are high-tech. They're evolving, really impressive. But I am just a drop in the bucket, and there's all kinds of worse injuries. I, for whatever reason, don't have any brain injury, which is a total game changer. Physically, I can't run. I can't be an infantry platoon leader anymore. But mentally, I'm all here. I can do whatever I want, and that is huge. I want to let you know that the healthcare in the military medical system, and at Walter Reed specifically, kind of where I grew up as a patient, is phenomenal, is bar none the best in the world. The legs I'm standing on at this very moment are available only to DoD amputees. It was a joint effort funded by one of the world's top prosthetic manufacturers and the Department of Defense. These legs are actually designed to allow our one-legged soldiers to return to combat if they so choose. This leg is so advanced. The surgery was amazing. The nurses were amazing. The doctors were amazing. The therapists are amazing. But really, one of the key contributors to my success, if you will, has been the atmosphere that I have rehabbed in. It is being co-located with many other wounded veterans. Most of our guys from the current conflicts go to Walter Reed, or they go down to San Antonio in Texas at Brooke Army Medical Center. And they keep us together, and we train together, and we rehab together, and it makes all the difference in the world because we have a support network. And that is what's so important. And that is what is specific to my story, but it reflects to all veterans on the whole. We stick together and we take care of ourselves together, but it makes everything easier, and that's why the focus must continue, and we cannot lose awareness that we are a special group. And you know, I hesitate to say that we're any more deserving than other Americans. What I see when I look at veterans is I see an absolute representation of America. Not everyone serves, but most people know someone who has in some way or another, and it doesn't matter what your race is or your religion or what kind of community you grew up in or what your orientation is. If you want to serve your country, you're welcome to do it in our armed forces. And that is what's so great, and that's why we're so deserving of the best care in the world. And our country is capable of providing that best care in the world. And so after I got hurt, I spent 4 months actually in the hospital, in a hospital bed as an inpatient, going through surgeries, getting my first set of legs made, and basically just kind of recovering. Then I moved to be an outpatient. I spent 10 months living on the campus of Walter Reed, going to daily, usually twice daily rehab sessions, going in, working on just getting my strength back. As you know, a pretty strong infantryman straight from combat, it was just amazing that in the 4 months of hospital stay, how much strength and ability I had lost. So we started with basic sit-ups, using my arms, actually picking up 5-pound dumbbells again, and then the legs started to work. But every day I was surrounded by other combat wounded and service disabled veterans, and that made the whole difference in the world. I never had a chance to feel sorry for myself. I never even knew it was an option. It was never presented as an option. The doctors came in and they said, "Hey, Dan, we took off pretty much all of your legs, but we have the best prosthetics in the world. You'll be fine." And that was a little bit optimistic at the time. I didn't quite recognize it. Looking back on it now, I can say that they were optimistic, but that is the right way to be, and that's what our veterans deserve. The therapists, never told me I couldn't do anything. They said, if you want to do it, you will, and that really is the atmosphere that we have at the rehab center just up the road in Bethesda, Maryland right now. The guys, we keep each other in line. We don't cut each other any slack. If someone's having a tough day, you look across the room and you see someone with the exact same injury as you, or oftentimes, unfortunately, an even worse injury than you have. And you just don't feel sorry for yourself. And that has made all the difference in the world. Without a doubt, my strong family and then my strong military support network is really why I've been so successful. I also want to let you know that at Walter Reed, we do a phenomenal job of offering our young wounded veterans opportunities to excel, either to return to combat or just service if they wish, or to seek service in another way. We offer internships with the federal government. I think all of the security and intelligence services offer internships, which is a natural fit for a lot of our veterans. We offer education programs and just incredible opportunities, and that is tremendous, and I love it, but I want to see it expanded to the rest of the veteran population. It needs to expand. It's a perfect fit. Our wounded guys come in, you get healed up, and then just like I said, no one ever gives you a chance to pity yourself, and they say, okay, hey, you're walking pretty well, you got a new arm, you got a new wheelchair, now what are you going to do? And you look at a private or you look at a junior officer and you say, well, I already went to college, I already have a degree, maybe I want to go to graduate school. I'd like to start my own business. I'd like to intern on the Hill. I'd like to intern at the FBI. You look at the younger enlisted guys and you say, hey, you're going to go get your degree right now. And it doesn't work for every single person, but I would say any soldier that wants to and has the drive to go get a degree has the opportunity. There's a woman sitting in the crowd right now named Heather Bernard who does a tremendous job of advising and mentoring our wounded veterans. She's gotten senior NCOs, junior enlisted into course programs at Georgetown, a phenomenal university. She got another West Point wounded friend of mine into graduate school at Stanford. These are the opportunities that our men and women have. And it's tremendous because, like I said, it goes back to to trickling down to the nation. Yes, we are veterans, but first and foremost, we're Americans. We we represent this country. If someone had come up to me and said, "Hey, Dan, you don't have any legs. You're never going to walk again. We're not really sure what your employment opportunity is going to be. We'd like you to take this VA pension and have a good life," maybe I would have done that. No one ever said that to me, so I didn't think that that was an option. But if it had been an option, I might not have started a company. I might not be hiring employees. I might not be manufacturing high-quality American goods made in Central Ohio and South Carolina. And so that really is the key. If anyone doesn't understand why you should take the time and to spend the money to give me surgery and to give me rehab and to give me legs, I will tell you it will all get paid back down the road when I have a successful business and I'm hiring more Americans. And that goes for everybody. As soon as you can get us back to work, it benefits the entire nation as a whole. And I would love to see this kind of health care and this kind of education benefits expanded to every single American. I think we all deserve it. That may not work initially, but the veterans are a perfect test bed for these kinds of programs and this kind of attention and this kind of awareness. And that's what I think is key. I can say without a doubt that my injury has been, tragic. It's not very fun at times. It can be quite frustrating. But on the whole, I regret nothing. I don't regret any of my service. I certainly don't regret any of the time that I spent with my soldiers before combat and in combat. And I honestly don't regret any of the recovery because, like I said, it has just been nothing but positive attitude and acceptance and drive from everyone I've ever met. And just failure is not an option. And I think that's tremendous. And I have to thank the Legion for that, for the GI Bill that when I go to business school in a couple of years, that's from you guys. I have to thank the military medical system. It's all coming from our government. It's all been tremendous. And I just want to encourage everybody in this room to be as vocal and as active as you possibly can. As long as the awareness is there, as long as the care and the attitude and the drive is there, veterans will never be left behind, and we will always support this country, both in peacetime, in combat, and as retired veterans. We will always support this country, and our country will be better off for it. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. Thanks for listening to my words. Let me know what I can do to help, and I will follow you guys anywhere. You have set the example, and I am very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this great service.